It isn't what's on the outside, but what's on the inside that counts. And no other starship class symbolizes this axiom as much as the Sombra Class. But what do we know about this look-alike starship design? Well, today we'll find out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon, a Star Trek web series that dives into the history of any given topic using beta canon sources and my own imagination to fill in the gaps. In today's episode, we're taking a look at the Sombra Class as first seen in Season 1 of Strange New Worlds to better understand its place in Star Trek history. Please note, this video has actually been a long time coming, but I never knew how I wanted to approach it, that is, until now. The Sombra Class bothers me. This isn't a reflection on Strange New Worlds by any stretch, as I do love that show, but the use of the Connie model and just adding blue here and there really bothered me. It's like they ran out of money or time and just weren't bothered to even kitbash a more substantially different starship design. So, in this video, I've tried to create a tale to actually explain this in universe. So good trinaries, buckle up. Also, once again, this amazing 3D model comes from the great Captain Whitmere, and I'd like to take another moment to personally thank them for their continued contributions to this channel. However, because this is just a fanfiction video, all information relayed should pretty much be taken with a grain of stardust and only considered a little bit of Star Trek fun. And so, with all that out of the way, let's begin. The invention of duotronic technology had been an amazing breakthrough for both Starfleet Command and the United Federation of Planets. Wunderkind Dr. Richard Daystrom had almost single-handedly started this new revolution, which would allow the Federation to continue to boldly go, expanding the borders of the final frontier like never before. But Daystrom, whose catapult to fame had been meteoric, began to attempt to top his duotronic success by creating computer systems that could actually think for themselves, leading to the man's eventual breakdown in the latter part of the 2260s. By the 2250s, Daystrom was already frantic to top his duotronic breakthrough by creating a true thinking computer. Daystrom felt that one of the biggest issues with current computing was that most essential starship functions required human input. If he was successful, a starship could minimize the crew contained within it, while protecting that crew by responding faster to potential threats than any humanoid ever could. Of course, making a thinking computer was far more difficult than even Daystrom could have predicted. Daystrom's Multitronic system, or M1, would debut in 2253, but would be an outright failure from the get-go. M1 simply didn't have the computer capacity to perform more than one essential task at a time. M2, though better and faster, would suffer the same fate when it debuted in late 2254. Taking a long hard look at his failed Multitronic units, Daystrom would come to the conclusion that the problem was having a single computer system attempting to decide all the starship's functions. And so, he went on to create very small, separate, decentralized computer cores, connected together to the main core of the starship. Encouraged by this new approach, Starfleet Command would allow Daystrom to test his new thinking computer system on a specially outfitted Constitution-class starship design. And in 2257, the Sombra Class would be born. An exact duplicate of the Constitution class in shape and size, this version of that class would require only 24 officers and crew members to operate. Though containing the basic warp core of the original Constitution class, computer control over all warp functions would give the Sombra class an edge in speed, with a maximum safe cruising speed of warp factor 7 and an emergency maximum speed of warp factor 9.1 for 16-hour increments. All old warp scale, of course. Tactically, the Sombra class would be as well armed as her older sister, containing a wide array of dual emitter phaser banks, as well as torpedo launching systems both forward and aft. But the biggest change to the Sombra class would be to her internal layout and intended function. Dedicated to being a pure science starship design, the Sombra Class would have an extensive array of scientific laboratories and facilities, as well as a medical section that rivaled even the most advanced starbase facility. The Sombra Class starship design was certainly a pie-in-the-sky type starship class for Daystrom, but Starfleet Command would need some convincing. Unfortunately, the proof of concept that they required would never truly materialize, as the entire idea was flawed from the start. Instead, the various tiny computer cores would begin not only to argue courses of action with each other, but also with the main overseeing computer core, leading to system shutdowns, burnouts, and overwhelming malfunctions, leading Starfleet Command to declare M3 another failure. However, not all of M3 had outright failed. And after M3 had been declared a failure, Starfleet's best and brightest would remove the Sombra Class's main computer core, replacing it with a more standardized version. But they would keep some of the smaller cores, reprogramming them to oversee certain computer functions. No longer able to think, but rather just execute commands based on human input, the Sombra Class would become a far more automated starship design than had ever been created before. As a result, the Sombra Class's crew complement would be increased to a minimum of 99 officers and crew members, and for a while, this automated design would seem to work well, but eventually the true flaws in this type of automation would lead to the decommissioning of the class altogether. Though as well equipped tactically as the Constitution class, the automation would quickly become a problem. For example, if a Constitution-class starship was hit by a torpedo and one of its phaser emitters was knocked out of service, the starship could still compensate with all the others, or quick repairs could be made by the class's extensive engineering department to bring that emitter back online. However, this was not the case with the Sombra Class. Not only was the engineering team aboard a Sombra Class far too small for quick and dirty repairs of such systems, but the very complex nature of the automated centers made this idea completely impossible. Not only that, but should a lucky shot take out one of the automation cores, a cascading effect more often than not would lead to the collapse of the entire automation network, leaving a Sombra Class vessel basically dead in space. After the quick loss of 4 starships of the Sombra Class in this manner, in 2261, Starfleet Command would recall all ships of the class back to space dock for a quiet decommissioning. And almost overnight, the Sombra Class would fade from the collected pages of starship design. As for Richard Daystrom, he would continue with his M4 experiments, leading to the eventual tests of the M5 system, which in itself would put an end to the Multitronic project as well as Daystrom himself, who would have a mental breakdown requiring intensive long-term treatment. Created as an innovative thinking machine, the Sombra Class would instead be synonymous with failure and make Starfleet Command weary of any automation advances for its starship designs for decades, earning this class its sadly failed place in Starfleet history. Thank you for watching today's episode of Truth or Myth Beta Canon. What do you think of the Sombra Class and the historical narrative that I've created here? Do you want to see more videos like this one? Well, leave your comments in the section below, and don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, hitting that little bell icon so you won't miss a single video we release. Once again, I'd like to take a moment to thank Captain Whitmere for their awesome starship design. Be sure to send them some love in their way. Want to help the channel create a living, breathing, thinking machine to pilot its starships? Then consider becoming a channel member subscriber or a channel patron, both a major help that allows this channel to purchase resources and 3D models to keep it going. The link to both memberships is in the description below. Thanks again for watching, live long, and prosper.